Today's horoscope from Astrocademy, Pisces January 14, 2023. Mars, your planetary ruler, turns direct today, after over 2 months of retrograde motion. With this change of direction, your confidence builds. It's a turning point for your energy and desires. It's also a time to put challenges with self-expression, pushing or selling your ideas, or with neighbors and siblings behind you. In the weeks ahead, you're more actively fixing problem areas. Pressures ease as you pay less attention to what others are saying and doing. There can be fewer complications with transportation, commuting, communications, and education. You'll continue to be busy but in a far more straightforward way. In other words, you can make measurable progress instead of focusing mainly on fixing problems before moving ahead. It's easier to tune out all the extra noise going forward. Daily affairs become less chaotic and overwhelming, freeing you up to attend to more worldly goals. Aim to make up for lost time by reconnecting with acquaintances and relatives and saying no to the more frivolous distractions that haven't served you well. Things that you've pushed to the side, ignored, or delayed can seem overwhelming temporarily, but in the coming days and weeks, you'll get to move these things forward. Blockages are lifting. Take things slowly but surely, and if you find yourself regretting recent decisions, work on fixing them one step at a time. A major turning point has already arrived, and it is only the beginning of the year. This is because after many long months, your planetary ruler, mighty Mars, has been trapped in a treacherous retrograde cycle. He has spun backward in the skies of Gemini, which has caused everyone to be more abrasive and aggressive around ideas and communication. There have even been more wars on social media and with people in our networks. Luckily, the dark times that had occurred will slowly fade into memory now that Mars is direct. There is a lot going on in the sky today. You may need to trust that you are on the right path with the best people possible to assist with your professional aspirations when Venus in Aquarius sextiles Chiron in your sign. Let go of any fears you may have to feel confident about your professional connections and aspirations. Meanwhile, Mars will also station direct in Gemini. Now direct, you may feel a surge of mental energy, which will help you find your social assertiveness without coming across as aggressive. While Mars' direct turn today follows on from the dwarf planet Eris' direct turn in Aries yesterday, this still leaves 2 planets in retrograde motion. Mercury will remain in retrograde motion in your career sector for another 6 and Uranus in your income sector for another 10 days. The Moon's friendly aspect to both before leaving your work sector today leaves you with a read on the doors still open to the past but also on the doors that are also open to the future. There is a lot of pampering that you can give yourself without having to break the bank. You just need to spend a little time exploring what you like. Perhaps there are certain essential oils in your medicine cabinet such as tangerine and grapefruit that you find lifts your mood. If you have access to a bathtub, an Epsom salt bath with a few drops of essential oil is an inexpensive way to bring calm to your nervous system and overly tense muscles. Maybe you can give your adrenals and digestive tract a rest by switching from coffee to delicious teas that have a lower or no caffeine content. There are also several apps available these days that offer hypnosis, guided meditation, and bedtime stories designed to help you drift off to sleep. On this particular day you may find that you do not really have the drive that is required to finish some of those projects that you have taken on. Don't be so stubborn that you can't admit that you might have bitten off more than you can chew. If you do not let your competitive side get the best of you today, then you will be able to recoup some of your losses. On the projects that are salvageable, utilize your creative energy and focus to pay attention to detail. Just as the dwarf planet Eris is spending her first full day in direct motion in Aries Mars, your ruling planet turns direct in your communication sector today and with perfect timing. After a friendly aspect to Venus, the planet of love earlier in the week, Mars' direct turn today will not only shift the focus away from the past and onto the future but just a few hours before the Moon returns for its first visit to your relationship sector for the year. It is your relationships that will be the first to benefit. In a case of perfect timing, it is just a few hours before the moon returns for its first visit to your relationship sector for the year that Mars turns direct in your communication sector today. After a friendly aspect to Venus, the planet of love earlier in the week gave Mars mission to give the past and unsaid words a voice. It is your relationships that will benefit from today's turnaround. It is time to move on. Our eyes in the sky. Action planet Mars turns direct in Gemini this afternoon, ending the retrograde story that began on October 30, 2022. We could feel a bit frustrated and out of sorts as Mars begins to wind down from its planetary moonwalk. However, we're just feeling the tail end of drama that we've been dealing with for months. Our energy can now be restored and revived for the first time in a long while. You find work-related issues easy to handle, and using your alert and active mind you apply fresh impetus to projects that require concentrated team effort. You encounter very few obstacles in your personal life. Whatever you choose to focus your attention on, others are enthused by your innovative approach and appreciate the concerted effort you make. Your ability to understand any situation is good, and you're able to undertake any sort of mental task. Equally, you're communicating without any difficulty, so possible negotiations or similar conversations turn out to be successful. You also find your general level of curiosity is heightened, and you're keen to acquire knowledge and learn as much as you can. If you enjoy buying yourself something new, go ahead and do it. You have the means to do so, and it's about time you treated yourself. Your finances allow you to make a small investment, and you are sensible enough not to overspend. Get out and strut your stuff. Feeling attractive, you're easily persuaded to make the most of your looks with a visit to the hairdresser or the health club. You're amazed at the transformation. Feeling even more appealing, when you meet up with others your attractiveness shines through. You're aware how people notice you. It's not your imagination. Mid-morning, Venus in Aquarius sextiles Chiron in Aries, helping to heal our hearts. Today's interactions stimulate reminders of wounds experienced in past relationships. It may not be a romantic wound, but a platonic one. Perhaps the betrayal of a friend, or being ostracized from a social circle. Yet today, the trigger feels softer. The lessons imparted are gentler. We might find ourselves entrenched in a similar dynamic with a friend who keeps us on the outs. Yet we can see that this is not the kind of alliance we wish to have in our lives. Alternatively, it may be that we are now part of the in crowd. We can welcome someone into our sphere and thus repair some of the karmic damage we incurred in our youth. Intensify contacts to people, because they find you particularly likable right now. Plan your leisure time with family and good friends, and most importantly, make your plans together. You might feel like ringing up an old friend. The time is perfect to revive and strengthen old ties. This will make it easy for you to make new contacts and maybe even lifelong friendships. In the early afternoon, Mars stations direct after nearly 2.5 months of being retrograde. During this time, we have had to contest with stalled projects, low libidos, weakened immune systems, and an inability to achieve progress in the causes that are important to us. Finally, these issues start to fall away as Mars begins its forward march. Take a mental inventory of the past few months and note lessons learned. We may have discovered that we were putting our energy behind work initiatives or relationships that were not worth the effort. Having received a clearer picture, we can proceed in the arenas where our actions are able to make a real impact.